Welcome to the SASH training on collecting sexual identity information on the SASH assessment. SASH will start collecting information about the sexual identity of our participants. This information is important to understanding how best to support our participants for many reasons. According to the CDC, without this information, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender LGBT patients and their specific healthcare needs cannot be identified. The health disparities they experience cannot be addressed, and important healthcare services may not be delivered. When asking these questions, the language that we use is important, and it can signal to another person that you are a safe person to have this conversation with. Gender identity refers to a person's inner sense of being a female, male, a particular mixture of both, or neither. Sexual orientation refers to a person's romantic, emotional, and sexual attraction to other people. Some common terms connected to sexual orientation are: if someone refers to themselves as heterosexual or straight, it means they are attracted to the opposite sex. Homosexual or gay means they are attracted to the same sex. Gay is also commonly referred to as men attracted to men, but lesbians can also be referred to as gay. Lesbians are women who are attracted to women. If someone is bisexual, they are attracted to both men and women. Asexual people have little to no feelings of sexual attraction, and pansexual individuals are attracted to all genders. Some common terms connected to gender identity are: male are individuals that feel like men. Female are individuals that feel like women. Transgender are those individuals whose gender identity or gender expression differs from the gender that is assigned to them at birth. Non-binary individuals feel that their gender can't be defined within the margins of the binary of male or female. Gender fluid individuals don't identify themselves as having a fixed gender. It changes over time. Another gender are individuals that don't identify with the other genders listed here. The acronym LGBTQIA+ is used often. Sometimes you may see it with fewer letters. To further define the terms associated with these letters in this acronym, we wanted to explain what these terms mean and what the acronym stands for. Queer are individuals who are not straight or cisgender. Cisgender are individuals whose gender identity and expression matches the sex they were assigned at birth. Intersex are individuals who naturally have biological traits that don't match what is typically identified as male or female. Questioning are individuals who are unsure how they identify, connected to their sexual orientation or gender identity. An ally is an individual who is cisgender and straight and believes in social and legal equality for LGBTQIA+ individuals. The plus sign is acknowledgement that there are non-cisgender and non-straight identities that are not included in this acronym. So LGBTQIA+ stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer and/or questioning, intersex, asexual and/or ally, and non-cisgender and non-straight identities. What would those additional identities be? It could be those that are two-spirited, someone who identifies as having both a masculine and feminine spirit, and is used by some Indigenous people to describe their sexual gender and/or identity. Sometimes the acronym may be listed as LGBTQIA2+, two for two spirits, as well as other identities with the intent of being inclusive. SASH is adding a question about sexual orientation to our assessment because it is crucial that we support our participants in all aspects of their lives, including their sexual orientation. It is essential that the LGBTQIA+ community receives appropriate health care. If we make assumptions or have prejudices against members of this community, it could lead to participants avoiding receiving appropriate care. In a study done in 2020, 22.8% of transgender individuals stated that they had avoided health care due to discrimination or fear of maltreatment. We intend for this training to provide some language and terminology to acquaint all SASH staff. Our goal is for all SASH panels to be fully welcoming, inclusive, and professional to all communities of people. Here is a short video that explains the importance of this information as people age.
We want to make sure that the care that we're providing people in a healthcare setting is culturally competent, that we're attuned to who they are. There's a difference between race and ethnicity, geography, linguistic experience, life experience.
It's important that a doctor understand where you're coming from and not be judgmental.
Because who I am affects my health. And if you don't know me, then you don't know the information that I need.
It's an important part for anybody to feel comfortable and to know that this doctor is for you.
And if there's any doctor that has a tough time with who I am, my likes, dislikes, adios, I'm not going to come back.
Well, I had a story of an older lesbian. For years and years, her doctor, he would write her a prescription for birth control, and that doctor didn't really know her. She didn't feel comfortable and safe coming out to him. And had they actually had a more open conversation, he would have understood who she was, how she was living her life, and how to direct the healthcare so that it's a little more attuned to what she needs.
Being in the closet is not a good place to be in the health field because you are leaving out a lot of the important services that you need to have in order to have a quality of life.
For today's older LGBT folks, although they're living in a world now that is much more open and accepting than they ever imagined they would experience, they still had decades of experiences where there was distrust, discrimination, hostility. For many of those people, being invisible really was the smartest way to get through your life.
Having the facility trained, it really has changed the culture. Although I didn't think we were unfriendly before, people are much more open and excited to participate in activities that include everybody.
I think it helps people to just be attuned to other folks, to not make all those assumptions that we make.
We tend to think of elderly people as sexless or not interested in sex anymore.
I've never had a physician ask me about my sexual activity. And if a physician don't ask those kinds of questions, people will never get the services that they need.
The training is helping us to be more aware of how to ask these questions of our elders, how to discuss them around the team.
That aspect of training has had a huge impact on people, as well as components around language. Using words like transgender, what does that mean? Cisgender, what does that mean? Bisexual, what does that mean?
And for me, because I wasn't too familiar with it, I feel that it's my responsibility to learn as much as I can so I could take care of them the best I could and educate my coworkers, my friends, and talk to them about what I know.
One of the things that we hear over and over again is providers saying, well, it doesn't matter to me, I'm not going to do anything different. But what we hear from older adults is it means the world to them to be known, to not have to be censoring themselves, to not have to worry about, oh, I'm going to say the wrong thing, I'm going to reveal this, and they're going to treat me harshly.
The training that SAGE has given to the doctors has helped a lot. It's made a difference in the lives of many people, and it's made it easier for people to get up and go to see a doctor when they're not feeling well, and they can feel confident that they'll be treated with respect, and that's the main thing, is respect.
For the demographics section of the SASH assessment, we created a lead-in statement. It says, we know that many different aspects of a person's life can impact both their health outcomes and the care that they receive. In an effort to ensure everyone is receiving the best care possible, we ask many questions throughout our assessment process. We understand that some questions may be uncomfortable and therefore no question in our assessment is required. If you would not like to answer a question, you may simply say pass and we will move on to the next question. This statement can help support SASH participants in many ways. First, preparing them that some of the questions we're going to ask may be uncomfortable, but there's a reason we're asking them. 2, it serves as a reminder that they have the right to decline answering any question that makes them uncomfortable. And 3, for the purposes of this training, prepare them for the sexual orientation question. The sexual orientation question on the SASH assessment reads, do you think of yourself as straight or heterosexual, lesbian or gay, bisexual, queer, pansexual, and or questioning, something else, don't know, decline to answer, or not yet asked? If a participant states that they think of themselves as something else, you can add this information to your encounter note. This is also a great opportunity to remind the participant that all information they share with us is HIPAA protected and that we will not share the information unless it is needed for their care coordination. When we ask this question, some participants may not be familiar with it, may not know what you're asking, and may even respond rudely. What can you do if this happens? First, some participants may not be familiar with the question or understand the terms. We encourage you to define the terms. A handout will be available and in the assessment tools section with definitions of the terms. If a participant is uncomfortable with the question or makes rude comments, feel free to move on and mark decline to answer. Ultimately, it is important to ask the question. Even if you think you know the answer to the question, don't assume, ask anyway. And if a participant asks why we are asking this question now, you can provide information from the rest of this training around the importance of asking and that SASH is working to ensure that we are providing as much support as we can to our participants. We also understand that there may be participants who are not going to disclose or come out to SASH staff, especially at the initial assessment. We would like to encourage staff to revisit this question each year as appropriate. It may seem odd to ask this question more than once, but as participants feel more comfortable with you, they may feel more comfortable sharing this the next year. And we also need to acknowledge that sexual identity can change over time. By asking this question annually, we are showing we understand sexual identity can change and allowing our participants to share their truth. It can be hard to ask questions of anyone, including our participants, that make us feel uncomfortable. And at the same time, we don't want the SASH participant to pick up on our discomfort and feel uncomfortable answering the question. It could be because we aren't used to asking them, or maybe they seem too personal, or maybe we're concerned we won't be able to provide the support they need if we ask it, or maybe it is our own discomfort with their answer. Regardless of the reason, as we stated earlier, it is important for us to ask. Here are some suggestions for these situations. Connect to the participant and build trust. Do your best to create and foster a relationship with them. This will help them feel more comfortable talking with you and answering those difficult questions honestly. Raise the topic as a matter of routine. Let them know the questions you're asking are important and asked of everyone. A suggestion is to say, the next question I'm going to ask you is one I ask of all SASH participants because it is an important question to ask. You could share some of the reasons why this particular question is important. It can also help to normalize the question or questions. It can be good to level set the question itself and let them know we ask this question of anyone. We don't want to make assumptions about any of our participants or their needs. We ask the same questions of all of our participants, regardless if you think we know or not. And ultimately, none of the questions we ask our participants are required or mandatory. You can let them know that they don't have to answer all of the questions. As a reminder, you don't have to answer questions you don't feel comfortable answering. I would suggest stating this at the beginning of the assessment rather than right before a difficult question. As you get more comfortable and have more experience asking difficult questions, you may create your own language about introducing these topics and asking questions that may create discomfort. LGBTQIA+ services will be added to PHL and the paper assessment as a referral reason. This will contribute to SASH's efforts to best support our participants and link them to needed resources in their communities. Given the variance of agencies and resources for these types of services, please choose Other for agency referred to and write in where your participant was referred in the space provided and in the corresponding field in PHL. Thanks for joining us for this very important training on the sexual orientation question that's been added to the SASH assessment. For additional information, we suggest reaching out to some of the resources on this slide. SAGE provides advocacy and services for LGBTQ older adults. There is also the LGBTQ Aging Center and a couple of articles that you might find helpful. These and other resources are also available on STAR.